Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. For today, what I want to talk about is, of course, fat acceptance TikTok, but one of their most favorite things to talk about. One of their biggest copes, this is probably right underneath racism. Weight loss is racist. That's their number one. But their number two is this theory, which this theory is called set point theory. It actually comes from the medical community. It comes from doctors. And the fat acceptance community uses this to justify why they can't lose weight. Now, I find it very interesting how they're perfectly okay with their set point going up, but not down. It reminds me of a Jubilee reaction I did a while back where they were all talking about how it's not a choice to be fat, but it is a choice if you want to gain weight. It's always strange to me how these things go, they go only one way. It's always okay and possible to gain weight. It's never okay or possible to lose weight, especially permanently. So let's go ahead and talk about set point theory, and let's see what they have to say.
Have you ever heard of set point theory? Let's talk about it. Set point theory states that for any given person, there is a body weight, or more likely a range of body weight, of about 20 pounds in either direction, where a person's body feels the most comfortable, the safest, and is the most likely to be healthy and metabolically healthy. Now, keep in mind that this is a scientific theory, which doesn't mean it's just an idea or a hypothesis. It means that there is data to back this up.
A lot of times, people within the fat acceptance movement, they try to do the fallacy of appealing to authority. This is very ironic, obviously, because a lot of authority figures actually talk about how unhealthy it is to be morbidly obese. It's really the wrong way to go, but trying to appeal to science as the be-all end-all when nutrition science is very, very incomplete. It's changing drastically all the time. It's very difficult to actually do studies because it's hard to get people to adhere to things long term, and it's also impossible to put people in a box and force them to do a diet. So most things that we have in regards to nutrition, obesity, etc. have to do with like rats and mice, which I talk a lot about hypothyroidism on this channel. And they often will feed rats and mice PUFA. They'll feed them fish oil, they'll feed them seed oils, pellets with these types of oils and these types of fats in it. So it does kind of shift narratives, because if you think about it, they're not really eating a natural diet anyways. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, how are we going to translate rats and mice to humans? Is it going to be an exact transfer? Not necessarily. So a lot of times they'll say things like that. Rats in a cage, they will get their set point right back to where it was before. I think that that's probably true. In my experience with dieting and weight loss, I find that my body is happiest at a maintenance level of calories. It absolutely is true. However, that maintenance level of calories when you are very, very obese can be very, very high. So let's not kid ourselves, right? But what I will say is, these appeals to science and authority do not work on me.
Now, it might seem logical to assume that set point for most people is going to fall somewhere within the normal BMI range, but it turns out that that is not true. Depending on the individual, their set point or set range can fall anywhere on the huge range that bodies can fall on in terms of size. And whatever a person's set point or set range is, their body is going to work tirelessly to keep them there.
This woman is trying to say that science says, and apparently the medical community and whatever says, that certain people have huge ranges of set point. You're trying to say that somebody who's 500 pounds, their set point is between 520 and 480? You've got to be kidding me. There's no biological, evolutionary, any kind of physical benefit to being 500 pounds. There just isn't. There's a huge strain on the heart, much strain on the joints, especially the knees, especially when walking uphill or upstairs. Try to watch a 500-pound person run. I think in the wild, we definitely had to run, at times. And I'm not trying to say that everything has to be exactly the way it was 50 billion years ago, but what I am saying is it is preposterous to say that somebody's set point is at 500 pounds. In this 40-pound range that they're giving people, it's very, when you have such a drastically wide window, which she made it sound like it could be even 100 pounds or something. Like, she made it sound crazy, like it could go anywhere. If your set range is so big, then it means that it isn't real. It means set point theory isn't true. Now, what I would argue is what people tend to experience are symptoms of hypothyroidism. I've talked about this many, many times. It will increase your appetite. Most weight loss methods do reduce thyroid health. That's because what has been promoted in media and in the medical community does harm thyroid health. Things like avoiding saturated fat and avoiding carbs do not help your thyroid work properly. So oftentimes people go on diets where they reduce carbs and saturated fat, and it causes them to experience hypothyroid symptoms, including hunger. This will also occur if you reduce calories drastically or even at all. Any calorie reduction will affect your thyroid health for the negative. It will make it a bit weaker. That doesn't mean that it's impossible to lose weight, but it does mean that people do experience these symptoms and it is real. However, it is not because of a genetic code. It has to do with your thyroid health, thyroid hormone. This is directly related to your weight management and your metabolism. We know this. It is so fascinating to me that a lot of these nutritionists, doctors, fat activists, they will stumble over themselves to avoid talking about thyroid when we know 100% that your thyroid has everything to do with your metabolism. Everything to do with it. But they never talk about it. Like I said, they'll trip over themselves. They'll say the dumbest things like somebody's set point can be 500 pounds. That's insane. But I'm the one who's crazy. Just ask some of my haters. Let's continue. She has a part 2.
So what does this huge variety in set points or set ranges mean for our understanding about weight and how it relates to health? Well, put simply, it means that this idea that there is a normal body size that everyone should be trying to achieve because it is the body size that is healthy, that idea is just simply not true.
There is 100% a normal range of size. You can be anywhere from rail thin, even bony to some extents, to like a dad bod, for example, in terms of being male. There's relative normalcy. Maybe the dad bod side can be a little too big, maybe the bony side can be a little too small. It's the same with women. But to act as if being extremely thin, like 110 pounds at 6'3", or being extremely huge at 600 pounds at 6'3", is within normal range. But most of these people that say somebody who's hugely huge is okay, they're lying. It's very obvious. People want to be nice. It's within our culture to be polite in the United States, especially. But we all know that everybody's lying about this. It's ridiculous. Now, what I will say, where I agree with her, is that people's weights, there is going to be a range of different weights. However, it is much better to measure yourself by your body fat percentage. Your body fat percentage as a man or as a woman, which obviously women can have a higher body fat percentage by at least 5%, you have a much more accurate measure of how obese or healthy you are by how much body fat you have. So you want to make sure that it is within a healthy range, especially if you struggle with being overweight. But even if you are underweight, there are body fat percentages that are beneath the threshold of essential fat for both men and women. So that is really the best way, because people have different builds. There is such a thing as big boned or, broad shouldered, wide framed. And those people do tend to feel alienated at times or wrong when they're fine, because they are supposed to weigh a little more, and they're supposed, and they're just wider framed, they're wider built. But that has nothing to do with being super morbidly obese, having a body fat percentage. I have a body fat percentage at this point of 51%. There is no universe in which that would exist as a set point. For a man, there's no way. Even for a woman, there's no way. It's way too high. It's ridiculously high. But she's trying to tell me that I am supposed to be this big. It's really wild.
Because for a lot of people, their set range is actually going to exist quite far above what we would consider to be a normal, healthy, or attractive body size for a human being.
And would this go the other way as well? Are there going to be some people that have it drastically lower than what people would assume is an attractive or healthy body size as well? Notice it only ever goes one way with these people. Isn't it interesting? It's very, very fascinating to me. Your set point, of course, can go up, but it can never go down. Doesn't make any sense.
And over again, studies show that when someone tries to force their body weight below their set point or set range, they have a lot of really negative health outcomes. And this is true even when their set point is somewhere in a high body weight or high BMI range.
She needs to say what these adverse health effects are. The fact that she isn't mentioning anything is a huge hit to her credibility. I can steelman her argument and tell you guys what can happen. What can happen if you don't lose weight correctly? You can lose a lot of muscle mass, you can lose bone mass, you can begin to lose your hair, and you can begin to lose your mind. All of which happened to me when I did a ketogenic diet, which is why I would never suggest it. And I know many people who have done a vegan diet, and it has happened to them too. And I get hate for saying that. But again, sometimes we gotta be honest about these things. When you do these kinds of diets, you will have adverse health outcomes because they affect thyroid health. And you will find it very difficult, especially from a very big size, to keep the weight off, because it's very hard to do these diets long term. And the second you step off, you start putting on weight like crazy. Very, very, very fast. And it can put people in this difficult position where they start to believe in this bunk BS set point theory. And it's not just calling yourself keto or vegan. It's things like Atkins. It's high carb, low fat. It's all these different things, a huge calorie restriction. Most of the time people that do that, they restrict fat a lot, especially saturated fat. When you look at the diets that people do and you start to see things from that perspective, you can see why people feel that they have a set point. I can see it plain as day. I'm in a deficit right now. It's not easy. It is not easy to be in a deficit when you are super morbidly obese. It's tough because any hit to your thyroid, you feel it very strongly. I'm doing okay though. I've got it going. I'm continuing forward. I have it at just that right level. And I can do it because I've done a lot to bolster my thyroid health over the past 2 years. And I can show you this graph right there where my set point has changed from last year. And I can almost guarantee you my set point will also change this year because it's not real. It's set point, which is basically hypothyroidism, but they don't want to say that because anything to avoid the actual root cause, because heaven forbid we actually solve this issue.
Body size was a choice, we wouldn't be having this conversation. No matter how much I eat or how active I am, any drastic alteration to my body size is going to be temporary. Because my body, like all bodies, has a regulating mechanism in place called metabolism, which is going to adjust if I get too high or too low for my body's equilibrium, aka my set point range. That doesn't mean that our behaviors have zero impact over our size. It just means there are a lot of factors at play that impact our size.
And why even talk about set point at that point? If I'm going to say this thing exists, but it can also be explained by a vast number of other things. It can be explained by infinitely other things. Then you start to lose me. You start to make me think, maybe set point theory isn't real then. Because if all these other things can happen, if I know people in my life that have lost weight and kept it off, if I myself, my set point is about 30 pounds lower than it was in summer of 2021. That's more than that 20-pound range that we heard about. So when I hear that, I think, How is it that my best friend lost 50 pounds and kept it off for 8 years? How is it that I know people who used to be thin that are now totally overweight? I don't think this is real. I'm questioning it. Doesn't seem real to me whatsoever. But by all means, a lot of people in the medical community and a lot of people in the fat acceptance community, they will fight for this. This is the hill they will die on. This is like their Bible. It's their religious text. It is their holy tenet that set point theory is real, even though there's so much evidence that it isn't.
And separately, there are a lot of factors at play that impact our health, not just our size. It's not accurate to use size as a synonym for health because guess what? There are fat people who are healthy and there are thin people who are unhealthy. Thin people get diabetes, chronic illness, heart attacks. Thin people die too.
There are hardly any physical health problems that are only exclusive to fat people. Very few, but they do exist. For example, obesity-induced hypoventilation is something that only a fat person can have. There are also a lot of issues with sleep apnea that thinner people can have, but it's much, much less common. Diabetes, yes, it can affect thin people. People do not realize that, but it can, because diabetes, it's related to something else, but I'm not going to get into this in this video because I'm already going to have enough in the comments because I'm talking about something in regards to thyroid health. But when it comes to diabetes, diseases, and all this stuff, absolutely yes. So here she's right. However, if you are morbidly obese, it is an indicator that you have a health issue because your body should not be that big. It's not meant to be that big. It isn't supposed to be. You can tell, you can feel it, especially the older you get. And it's okay to understand that. But people, for some reason, they always want to jump over, all these, and they want to jump over themselves to prevent fat people from taking any responsibility. The truth is always in the middle, for the most part. It is personal choices that make people fat, and it is also hormonal issues and environmental factors. There's a reason why we have so much obesity today and we didn't in the past. Something has changed, both in our culture and our morals, as well as in society. Two things can be true at once, and it's very frustrating to see people talk about these topics when I myself am a fat person. And I know how I got here. And a lot of these people, they will stumble over themselves to never ask a fat person as well. I'm telling you, it's not even just fat people that are culpable in this situation. Because when these people talk like this, if I was a younger person or if I was less educated, I would think maybe I should give up. Maybe this is how I'm supposed to be. And if I believed that, then I would create an entire ideology around size as if it was something like race or gender or sexuality, something that cannot change. These thin people are culpable in this as well.
In fact, thin people often die earlier than fat people. And also, social determinants of health are a thing because we don't exist in a vacuum. So yes, environment and society does play a role.
On average, people who are huge do die earlier. There have even been fat acceptance activists that are starting to die. This person is not living in reality. Let's move on. Let's go to the next one.
This could be the biggest problem with dieting. Many of you have lost weight, regained it, lost it again, regained it again, and keep finding yourself back at the same place. Despite what many shitbag influencers tell you, how much you weigh does have a large genetic component.
Okay, so now this person that very likely has zero experience with obesity is now insulting me and telling me that I'm a shitbag for telling you that it isn't genetic. It isn't. That is complete crap. I need you to hear that. It is not genetic. If you stop eating today, you will lose weight. It's a miracle. If you start eating 10,000 calories, you will gain weight. What a miracle. You know what doesn't change in those two situations? Your genetics. Period. I am so sick of that lie. It is disgusting. Stop lying. Stop lying to people. It's not nice. This isn't nice. This is cruel. You want people to be comfortable being sick in a situation where they can heal themselves. This is messed up. I am so tired of that line. Let's continue.
Let's discuss the set point theory. Your body has a weight that it wants to be, so you can go on a diet and lose weight. But when you stop the diet, your body says, "Give me more food, fuckface," and you end up back at square one.
Need I show the graph again where I am not at square one? Those periods within my graph where I am gaining weight, I'm not counting calories at all. I'm eating tons of sugar and candy and fat and the whole nine. It was Christmas, it was December on one of the times I gained weight, and it was the rest of winter. I've told you guys winter is very challenging for somebody who's hypo, especially in a severe state. However, year over year, I've improved. My set point is now in the 350s. It used to be in the 380s. You are wrong. I am not back at square one because I didn't lose weight in a way that is anti-thyroid. I'm doing it in a pro-thyroid way. Therefore, I'm not at square one at all. I have a foothold now. And I guarantee you, when I get under 350 this spring, I don't think I'm ever going to see that again. Because this is bunk. What he's saying is not real. My body doesn't just call me F-face and force me to eat a bunch of crap. No, I can still discern, but my body wants carbs and saturated fat. Absolutely. My body wants animal protein. Absolutely. My body wants dairy. Absolutely. And salt. That's what my body wants. If I deny my body those healthy building blocks, I will have problems. Absolutely. And my body's survival mechanisms will kick in at one point or another.
The yo-yo dieting effect. This is supported by rat studies dating right back to the 1940s and 1950s. If they lose or gain weight, they will adjust their food intake so precisely that their body fat levels remain almost constant.
As stated previously, what are they eating? And also, Why aren't they gaining weight massively? Because according to that theory, people would not be able to gain weight no matter how much they ate. But you see that every day. I see people gaining weight all the time. I see a lot of people gaining weight. I see them losing it too. Gosh, maybe we aren't rats. I don't know.
Set point theory is kind of like saying you are genetically programmed to weigh this much. And you can diet, but your body will fight to return to baseline.
As stated, it has nothing to do with baseline. It has everything to do with thyroid health. Your body will work to get your thyroid back on track because your brain and thyroid communicate and it sees it as a problem. If your thyroid function is dipping, your brain will do something about it. Your brain will say, oh my gosh, what the hell is going on? Are we in a famine here? Why is there no fat? Why aren't we eating meat? What's going on? You need to store everything. That's what your brain, when you do this stuff to yourself, you communicate to your body that there is no food in the environment. Your body can only rely on certain physical sensations and nutrient presence and these types of things. If you make your body think there's a famine because you're avoiding a certain macronutrient like carbohydrates, you will have problems. And even if you don't feel it, and even if you lose weight, and even this and even that, you're still, over time, you will get worse. I guarantee you. And over time, you eventually, your brain will win and you will go back to eating carbs. It happens all the time. I'm just one of the only people that will be honest about it, apparently. It's crazy. So it's not about being obese. Your body does not want to be obese. Your body is, when you are morbidly obese, your body is very confused. It doesn't know what's going on. It thinks that there's a famine. You've sort of short-circuited the system. Oftentimes because you're eating horrific seed oils that really affect your body's ability to utilize thyroid hormone. And when you do that, your body doesn't know what the hell is going on anymore, and it gets confused. When you stop for a long period of time, for years even, your body starts to adjust. People lose weight in toxic ways. People don't lose weight in healthy ways. It isn't healthy to run to burn 10,000 calories to lose weight. That's not good for you. It doesn't matter if I'm fat. Go ahead and do it anyways. Just because a fat person said it, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong just because I'm fat. You will struggle. You will have problems. You will have so much damage from doing that. Extremes on all sides exist. And at the core of it, a lot of these people will use these same arguments and say, oh, well, it's genetic. No. No.
From an evolutionary perspective, perhaps your body doesn't want to starve to death. So various compensatory mechanisms may kick in to prevent significant weight loss. For example, when you lose weight, your body will burn less energy than it used to. And when you reduce fat stores, there are hormonal changes which signal to your brain that you need to consume more food.
Let's do an actual translation of what really happens. When you lose weight in an anti-thyroid way, especially, you lose a lot of muscle. When you lose a lot of muscle, you lose calorie expenditure and your metabolism goes down. It is extremely important to have physical activity during weight loss. It is vital. As an obese or morbidly obese person, you are able to put on muscle as you lose weight. It's not the case for everybody. If you're already at a very, very high muscle mass, you may not, but it's key if you are super atrophied to do your best, because you will be able to put on muscle if you are extremely atrophied, as long as you are active. So when you go through this, try to retain your muscle as much as you can. How would you do that? Eat enough protein, get movement in. As far as the other end of things, these hormonal changes are off from fat loss often have to do with these polyunsaturated fatty acids being within your fat cells, being released and causing a cascade of anti-thyroid processes as you lose weight. But it is temporary. And if you need to be at maintenance for a while, you can hold on to that foothold. And as long as you're not eating that polyunsaturated fatty acid, if you're not eating that in huge amounts, you will stay at that foothold. If you are eating enough saturated fat, you will be fine. But they don't say that. Me being in a deficit right now, I experience psychological changes. I experience physical things. I get moon face because these polyunsaturated fatty acids are being released. But it's okay. I'll get through it. It will pass. And if you do stay at maintenance, it goes away. It has to do with the fact that the fat on your body is in and of itself toxic. It's antithyroid, it's highly estrogenic, it's all these things. This is why it is important to lose weight. So you're not crazy, but it's a gross misinterpretation of what's actually happening. Like, what he's saying is a gross misrepresentation of it. And in my opinion, it is somebody who has no idea what he's talking about, somebody who's never experienced morbid obesity, trying to talk to morbidly obese people and tell them what is going on when they have no clue. And it is so frustrating. I mean, a lot of us fat people, we are so exacerbated by this. It's just something that we hear so much, so many times, and it's not lining up with our experiences. And you have really the opposite extreme in the other direction. People who are pro weight loss, they say crazy things. Like, if you cut out all carbs, you will never be hungry. That's not true. When I was keto, I craved carbs a lot. I just wouldn't listen to it. I mean, when you tell people stuff like that, then they're going to do it and they're not going to feel that way. And then they're going to be like, oh, I'm being lied to. How do you feel when you're lied to?
Is the neurobiology of appetite regulation. Have you ever lost weight and felt like you were always hungry? Well, that. But having a specific set point doesn't actually make much sense. Your weight isn't just genetics, there are epigenetic and environmental factors at play. In today's obesogenic environment, many people can gain weight for their entire lives and never come back to the supposed set point. So the initial set point theory is evolving and heavily debated, and discussions about settling points and dual intervention point models are fascinating, but far too fucking nerdy for me to try and cover in one video.
And why are you talking about it? Why are you even going there? And why are you calling everybody who disagrees with you a shithead or whatever the hell you called me? I'm not interested in this half-baked take that you're just pulling out of your ass. I'm not interested in that. This is awful. Awful. And for me, I get angry because I know how many fat people watch stuff like this. And you're just left like staring at the wall, basically. Like, what the hell is this? What am I doing? What's happening to me? It's so frustrating.
So what do you actually need to know? You probably don't have a specific set point as such, but maybe you have a set range. Many of you feel that you can change your body weight with relative ease to a degree. But for most of you, there's probably a point where gaining or losing a significant amount of weight suddenly becomes extra difficult. So
when that happens, I would pay attention to the time of the year because it is highly, highly correlated with winter. If you are hugely huge. I can't speak to somebody who has to lose 30 pounds. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody that has to lose 100. You may find yourself getting into that zone where it's very difficult around winter a lot of the time. There's reasons for that. There's seasonal reasons why that happens, and you need to just try to maintain and then start again the next year. Weight loss from a very heavy point is a long battle. It's not the biggest loser. You don't lose 200 pounds in 6 months. That's not the way this actually works. To actually do it in a way that it will stay off, it takes years. And it takes a lifestyle change and all this stuff that people say. But that part is true. But people need to think about weight loss differently. You didn't gain 200 pounds in 6 months. You gained it 20, 30 pounds a year if you were really big, or maybe 10 pounds a year. Your weight loss journey will be much more similar to that. It doesn't have to take 10 years, but it will take probably 3 or 4. And people don't give themselves the time to heal. It takes time and patience. And I get it, because if you're doing this for thin people's approval, you're not going to get it, because they're going to be upset even if you I had one of my friends, Lisa, she was told by a doctor that when she lost 85 pounds in a year, it wasn't enough. She should have lost more. This is the stuff that we get. You gotta depend on yourself. I know it's hard, but a lot of people today, they don't understand. So I'm keeping it 100 with you. People, we have to take responsibility of ourselves, because at the end of the day, the only person that can make sure you're gonna live longer and be okay is you. And don't do this for approval. Don't do this for social reasons. Do this for physical reasons. It's the best way, trust me.
So, if you are dieting to improve your health, maybe shifting your focus to trying to improve your health regardless of your weight might be a smart idea.
So with that, I can agree with him, but I would suggest focusing in on thyroid health. That's what I would do. And that's what I have done, and I've been getting so much better now. And in the years to come, I will get even better. And you'll all see. You'll all see. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I don't know if this was a little angry today, but being in a deficit, I've told you guys, it does make me feel more angry. And I feel healthier, honestly. I've been getting a bit more energy. And with more energy comes more anger. So hopefully you guys are okay with it. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your comments below. Love, hate, etc. Love to hear it. Love to fight with you in the comments. And I'm just kidding, but not. And I will talk to you guys again very soon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, night, whatever. Make sure to like it and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.